Hey everyone, it's Evan Kirstel with a great guest, Jon Ferrara, a influencer and thought leader in the CRM space, going back to GoldMine, of course, now founder and CEO at Nimble, a product I personally use and love. But Jon, how are you?
I'm good, Evan, and thank you for inviting me to not only catch up with you and talk about some of the things we have in common that we love, like music and um, technology, but to really have a conversation that ideally is going to be educational and inspirational to your audience, because that's what we're here for. We're here on this planet, I believe, to grow, and the best way to grow is helping other people grow.
I love that. What a great start to the discussion. And before we dive into that, let's do a little trip through memory lane. You and I are both getting older, and I
Hmm.
love reminiscing on earlier times in my career. So back in the day, in the '90s, you created GoldMine, which as a sales guy, in a cube in the '90s was my go-to CRM. I remember it well. Tell us about that experience of creating what I think is one of the first CRMs in the industry, was it not?
It was. It was. If you go back to the history of when serum was created, there was a root of it that happened before the term serum happened, and it was contact management. And
Mhm.
contact management evolved from business people like you and I trying to engage others at scale. You could call it sales or biz dev or whatever role you had. And we did it with spreadsheets, sheets of paper, more likely, and day timers. And so the day timer was a paper-based fancy Rolodex that had your contacts and what you needed to do and who you're doing it with, but it was paper-based and it only worked for you. And in the environment I was in enterprise sales where there was multiple people in my district office that was engaging the prospects and customers. But at corporate, they also were involved in the cycle of pre and post sales cycles. And there wasn't a software program that enabled a team of people to collectively build and maintain relationships that drove results. And because I had a computer science background and I worked in a computer land store and I knew every software program on the market, I knew there wasn't a program that integrated email, contact, and calendar and sales and market automation. So I quit my job and founded GoldMine with an old college friend.
That is amazing. I love the throwback to the computer land store, the
Ah,
days when you the days when you bought software that you actually owned and in a shrink wrapped package.
I
Uh,
recently cleared out my shelves of all my box software because it was taking up space. It was archaic.
and how many floppies did that entail? Because
Mega
lots
floppies.
of five and a quarter, three and a
I
half,
used
the
to
whole.
buy Dyson discs in bulk when I
Okay,
was a computer hobbyist in 1978, 9, and 10, or in 1980.
I love
Um,
that. I love that so
but
much. And
but the thing is about contact management is it was really created to power the person using it and to um, enable them to build relationships. What happened was CRM came out and it wasn't about empowering the customer facing business team member to build relationships. It was more about command and control and reporting because management was afraid of what sales reps were doing with their gold mines and acts and taking their contacts with them because they believed their contacts belonged to the company and that they wanted to drive reports on how many calls somebody made and how many sales that they made. And I think that's important for management and ownership, but they forgot that the core of CRM is relationships, customer relationship management. And they really stopped building the relationship management tools into their CRMs, which is a funny reason why, if you buy Salesforce or another enterprise CRM today, you have to buy SFA software like Outreach or SalesLoft, and you have to
mm,
buy sales intelligence software like ZoomInfo or Sales Navigator. And I just think that it shows how CRM has lost its way.
wow, that's quite a statement. Has CRM lost its way? Has selling as an art, as a profession lost its way? What's your take? How has sales evolved over the couple decades since we
Well,
used Goldmine and just sat and made phone calls all day?
to understand sales, you really have to go back 100 years. 100
Wow,
years ago,
okay,
we
that's
all
a
lived in
flashback.
in a small village. And our brand is built on the promises that we make and the experience that we deliver. And if you do those things appropriately, then people will come knocking at your door as a trusted advisor, and they'll tell their friends about you. And then what happened was mass manufacturing drove the village people to the cities to get jobs, and they started making so much product that they needed to hire door-to-door salespeople to go pound on people's door to sell them, the full breast salesperson. And then that wasn't enough, so they hired Madison Avenue to bombard you with advertisements, so you would be driven into the stores where the salespeople will bag and tag you. And that's sort of the evolution of sales. But I believe that social media is turning the world back into a small village where your brand and reputation is built on the promises you make and the experience that you deliver. And if you can align those two things, you can build a gold mine. And I think that the sales has really become a four-letter word. And I think that service is the new sales. And I think that anybody who's selling today, who's dependent on their company to give them leads and pound on those leads with automation, where people are sick of getting those automated emails and pounded by the phone calls, you know what? That's got to stop. So sales has sort of evolved through a cycle, and I still think that we're in a situation where people are trying to sell too much. And if you really build yourself as a trusted advisor of your prospects, customers, and ideally their influencers, and you give your knowledge away on a daily basis where you become the trusted advisor, not only will they call you when they think of you, but they'll pick up the phone and they'll tell their friends about you as well. And I think that service is the new sales. I think that we're evolving into a higher purpose of sales, where today, I believe still, sales is about generating dollars for yourself to make yourself richer. But I believe if you don't focus on how much dollars you can make, but you focus on how many people you can grow and serve, that the world will be a path to your door, and you won't have to worry about marketing or pounding people. All you'll need to worry about is being able to manage the inbound calls that are coming to you of the people that want you to help them grow.
Wow, that's such a refreshing approach. I mean, sales was the most lucrative and also stressful profession out there. And since I've been a solo practitioner the last 7, 8 years, it's been all about relationships. My clients find me through social media,
Yep.
and we collaborate very
Yep.
closely. And so the old sales game has changed significantly. So you built and sold GoldMine. Remind me, then what happened next in your professional journey?
So I started GoldMine in 1989. No venture capital, no bank loans, on $5,000. We grew it to about $125 million a year in revenue, millions of customers, tens of thousands of resellers, and hundreds of team members at the company. And I really was blessed to be a part of that, to be able to work with not just the GoldMine team members, but the constituency around GoldMine, because it really took a village for us to achieve our goals. And that included the team members, the customers, the resellers, the distributors, the business partners like Microsoft, but more importantly, the storytellers, the influencers. And in those days, they were business publications, technology publications. And so that was great. So after 10 years of doing that, and you really have to give your life away in many respects to become a successful entrepreneur for most people. Yeah, there are people that basically blink their eye and they're a unicorn, and God bless them. But it wasn't the path for me. So after 10 years of the hamster trail, really working my butt off, I had my second baby, and I said, you know what? I want to be a present father, husband, and member of my community. And we sold GoldMine, and I spent 10 years raising 3 children. And I'll tell you what, Evan, I learned more about my heart and my soul and grew more in those 10 years than I did in the previous 40 years.
Oh, I love it.
And I went through some health struggles. I got the big C, big old ass tumor in my head. And I think that anybody who's ever been through a health struggle, most people, I would assume, examine their life. Why am I here? How did I get here? How do I get out of here? What is the purpose of this moment in my life? And I really made me re-examine why I'm here on this planet. And so I did the Western things to get healthy. I did the Eastern things to enlighten myself. And I came to the conclusion that I'm on this planet in the brief period of time that I'm here to grow my soul. And the best way to grow your soul, I believe, is by helping other people grow theirs. Rinse and repeat. And so it was one of the drivers of me getting back involved in technology, because I started to use social media in 2006, 7, and 8. I saw I was going to change the way that we work, play, buy, and sell. I saw how the social interactions could be applied to not just your personal relationships, but your business relationships and company relationships. And I started to look for a software program, a relationship manager that enabled me to manage the connections and conversations that I was building by using Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And I found things like Hootsuite that enabled me to manage the conversations in columns, but the conversations weren't connected to the contacts, and I couldn't share that amongst the team. And what I really wanted to be able to do is to take those connections and conversations that I was doing in those streams, in the social river, as I call it, and to pull them in to build real pay it forward relationships that last time. And to do that, you need some process and structure around it. You need a contact manager. And I knew a thing or two about that. I kind of invented Outlook and Salesforce before either existed. And so I put a team together that essentially pioneered social selling and social CRM, because I actually got LinkedIn to give me all their public and private APIs. We're the only company that had full integration with LinkedIn for messaging, contact enrichment, contact synchronization,
Wow.
on stuff. And we not only integrated LinkedIn, but Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Crunchbase, AngelList, Foursquare, you name it. And so Nimble unified your contacts from your, back then there was no Microsoft 365. So it was Google, and it was social, and it was any business apps that you have, like your sales, marketing, customer service, accounting contacts. Because if you think about a company, most of the contacts in the companies are siloed in their email productivity suite. Back then it was Google. Today it's Google or Microsoft. Inside their social, individuals, Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Inside the business apps that they use, the sales and marketing, customer service, and accounting tools, all of those are islands of contacts. And so salespeople use the CRM for prospects and customers. Marketing uses the marketing program and throws the leads over the wall to the salespeople. Accounting uses the accounting things. And the contacts in your email productivity suites, Google and Microsoft, are islands. Every team member has a separate contact database. And what made GoldMine so wonderful for a business is that everybody lived in GoldMine. Every contact in the business was in GoldMine. So no matter who picks up the phone, you know who you're talking to, what happened, who did it, what's going to happen, who's going to do it. And you can do what you need to do, which is log the note and schedule the next action. Because if you don't have a next action with a key contact, then there's no purpose of having the contact, right? You should always have a purpose and a process, for your key relationships. And so we got back in and we built up Nimble, and now Nimble has evolved into not just a layer on top of Google, but also with Microsoft. And Microsoft has become our global reseller. So Microsoft sells Nimble as the simple CRM for Microsoft 365. So if you buy Microsoft 365, it's not a good team contact platform. It's not a good small business CRM. And Dynamics, their big enterprise one, isn't really applicable to small businesses. And most of their resellers only sell to small businesses. So if you're a small business today, an individual person or a company, and you're looking for a relationship manager that's more than a sales CRM, it's a CRM for the whole company, that's really what Nimble is. And there's one more thing I do want to point out. Today, the outcome of a CRM is just deals. That's it. So you put a contact in a CRM, you could log notes and schedule tasks, and you could send emails, but the outcome that you're driving is a deal. Evan, let me ask you a question. How many of your relationships, what percentage of them are you looking for dollars from?
Oh, yeah, practically none. It's all about relationship ROI, and it's not about dollars and cents.
No. Life isn't about dollars. It's about the memories out of the moments that you create, of being truly present with people you care about, to learn about who they are and find ways to blow wind in their sails. And so I was struggling with, like, my main thing that I do at Nimble, besides working with the product team to build the product, is telling the story, reaching out to people like you who are the influencer of my prospective prospect, customer, and influencer. So you're a thought leader in sales, marketing, B2B, social. And what I try to do is identify people like you who have high reach and relevance with my constituency and build a pay it forward relationship where we become friends. I find ways to add value to you. You become ideally a Nimble user and storyteller of some sort, hopefully. Well, the way I used to do that is spreadsheets, because it was really easy to be able to target a list of people and to basically build the rows and columns of the information I want to track and do that. And the reason I didn't do it in my CRM is because the only thing that you have to manage a process is the deals. And deals aren't really applicable to people and company repeatable processes. But recently we built this thing called workflows, which enables you to build a Kanban board. It's kind of like Trello. Think of Trello with those tabs or stages, and you put cards in there with unique fields that are related to the process you want to build and put them through. And you can now you could take contacts from your connections and conversations and put them through a workflow process to achieve a goal that's not dollar related. And that's why I think that most CRMs fails, because they're designed for salespeople, for prospects and customers, but there's only 5% of your team is in sales in most companies. Everybody else has some other type of contacts in your constituency, and they should have a process to put people through to achieve their goals in biz dev, accounting, support, whatever types of engagements, hiring that you're doing. And so I'm really excited about our new workflows.
That sounds exciting. And I can't tell you how many messages sort of drop into the ether and get lost in Never Never Land on Twitter and LinkedIn and text messaging and Facebook Messenger and all these platforms. And it's pure gold. I mean, opportunities that I have that I just I've sort of forgotten about or can't keep track of. And I think we're all in the same boat trying to navigate down this this social river, as you call it. So that's why I use Nimble. It's just sort of a relationship ROI tracker for me. Do you think social is the future of selling, or is it some hybrid of online and offline? And we're going to still be at trade shows and golf courses.
So, do you remember when the internet became more dependable? Okay, so let's go back. The internet originally started as sort of, in my memory, modems. Hayes modems, 300 baud, 9600 baud, and we dial up into BBSs, which were bulletin boards that were run on somebody's computer, where we'd gather around topics. In my instance, it was astronomy and photography and computers, and so people would have a bulletin board where people would sort of gather, and then that became Prodigy and CompuServe, and eventually it became Facebook and whatever. But the internet wasn't always on. The internet really became more on around 1999, 2000, where you had high-speed modems that went into houses, and it was ubiquitous. So when that really happened, do you remember when everything was e-toys and eye contact? Everything was E and I, was like this was new and sort of happening. Well, when social first came out 10 years ago, everything was social selling, social marketing, social business, blah, blah, blah. Social over the past 10 years has become more ubiquitous. So I don't think that we're going to be calling it social CRM or social selling or social marketing or social business. It's just going to be sales, marketing, business, because it's just another tool. Once it becomes ubiquitous, it becomes transparent. It disappears. So do you remember when people used to fax all the time?
Shockingly, if you mentioned your healthcare struggles, too much in healthcare, they're still faxing records, and so it's sadly still around.
So sales will use whatever tool is new that differentiates yourself to be able to get through the clutter. Today, your email inbox is a slaughterhouse. You know what's funny is my email doesn't show a number anymore on the new UI of the Apple, but I literally have thousands of unopened emails. So
Yeah.
people now are using the phone and they're using text, whatever, or social, whatever they could do to get through. So do I think that social is going to be with us forever? Yes. Social is basically just like going in somebody's office. In the old days, I used to teach everybody, when you go in somebody's office, look at the walls, look at the books they read, the degree of the school they went to, the knickknacks they collect. Why? To figure out what you have in common. I call it the 5 F's of life: family, friend, food, fun, and fellowship. Share what you have in common with another human being to develop the intimacy and trust, to get them to open up to you about their issues and needs so you can find a way to add value. That's the basic human sort of process. And that has been true since the beginning of time. And that will always be true, regardless of the methodology, whether it's phone or text or social or whatever. But the thing I love about social is the global nature of it and how soft connections can happen in Twitter that become a firmer connection in LinkedIn, which becomes a calendar invite, which becomes a Zoom meeting. And then you build this sort of connection on the commonalities that you have. And then that connection lasts time. Like, Evan, it's been some time since we've last spoken, but you know what?
Maybe a decade.
Still have a connection. And I think that connection will last because we've shared our commonalities, our love of audio and music and technology and business. And so social will be with us forever. And so if you're not using social to build an identity in the places where your constituency, and I say that because it's more than prospects and customers, it's our influencers, business partners, whoever, where does your constituency have conversations? Go build an identity there and begin to just drop your knowledge on a daily basis. Give it away. Set yourself up as a trusted advisor. And if you're not good at creating content, curate content. Curate other people that have high reach and relevance in and around your area of promise of products and services. And then listen and engage for when people connect for conversations. And don't connect and sell. Connect and serve. Connect and find ways to add value. And if you do that and you rinse and repeat, you're going to have tens of thousands of connections, hundreds of thousands, maybe like you, Evan. And so what are you going to do with that? The Dunbar limit says you can only have 100 or 200 people in your head at one time that you can remember. I literally have tens of thousands of connections. I don't remember them all. That's why I built GoldMine. That's why I built Nimble, to help me to extend my mind, to be able to remember people and to follow up and follow through. That is the secret to life. It's the basics in life that really helps you to win those games. And relationships are key to you achieving your dreams in life.
Wow. Mic drop. So much value, literally for free here. It's GoldMine, no pun intended. Maybe before we wrap up, just talk about building Nimble. You have so much recognition and satisfaction with customers and the industry in general. What's, if you're a SaaS founder in the B2B space, give some advice, tips, tricks, best practices on building a company like Nimble.
Well, I think it's more powerful when other people talk about you than when you talk about you. And I think that people need to stop talking about themselves and their products because people don't care. People don't buy great products. They buy better versions of themselves. So what you want to do is start talking about how you can help other people to become better, smarter, faster, not to say how smart and fast you are or your products are. And so put your customer at the center of your storytelling and teach them how they could be great. I tell people, if you teach people to fish, they'll figure out you sell fishing poles. And so if you want to become top of mind with your prospects, customers, and influencers, what you should do is you should find ways to help grow them and build a product that helps them achieve their dreams, and then show them how they could be great, and they'll beat a path to your door. And so the secret to success of GoldMine was identifying the influencer of my prospect, building a pay it forward relationship with them, and them becoming our storytellers. So back in the days, I lived in Canoga Park in an apartment I had literally a few $1,000s in the bank. We were eating mac and cheese, and we had this thing that nobody had, which was GoldMine, which was the first program that integrated email, contact, and calendar and sales market automation. How do you sell it? Well, I tried going and going to trade shows and selling to end users. That's a lot of work. I tried to go and contact local resellers and get them to try to pick it up, but that's a lot of work. But what I figured out is if I could build pay-it-forward relationships with resellers at scale who already had sold a Novell network and had thousands of customers that they sold the highway to, and I had the first car to drive on the highway, that's how we could scale. And so I cold called every single Novell reseller in the country. I got them to use GoldMine because people sell what they know and they know what they use. They started recommending and resell it. And that's how we got to our first $100,000 a month in revenue. And then Microsoft came out and they ate Novell. Microsoft doesn't innovate, they iterate. They wait for someone else to build the market and they come out with something good enough and they use their muscle, billions of users and hundreds of thousands of hours to win. And so they built Small Business Server, NT Server, SQL Server, and Exchange Server, and they wanted to sell that. No small business is going to buy SQL Server unless there's an application that calls for it. No, why would you install a server if you don't have a business application that needs it? So they convinced us to build GoldMine Enterprise, which required a seat of NT Server, SQL Server, and Exchange Server for every seat of GoldMine. And that helped our customers to scale. So we eventually had 50 of the Fortune 500 companies standardizing on GoldMine. Most of the banks, most of the insurance companies, et cetera, and technology companies. And then they started to push us. That's how we got to $100 million a year in revenue. Fast forward to Nimble, resellers weren't really prevalent because I was really going to the cloud. Most of the resellers were still on-prem with Exchange Server, et cetera. So I figured out that people like you, Evan, are the trusted advisor of my prospect. So the thought leaders in social sales and marketing, I identified by swimming in the river, finding people that resonated with me, starting to curate their content, hashtagging them in the category appropriately, listening, engaging with the influencer's community, and the community following those hashtags, and then starting conversations. And that's essentially how I built my brand after being out of technology for 10 years and built the Nimble brand. So we've never advertised at Nimble in the 10 years business. All of our 100,000 uniques per month that we generate are generated through earned media, pay-it-forward relationships with thought leaders, influencers, writers, podcasters, and then partners, business partners that we generate through our relationship with Microsoft. So most SaaS CEOs listening to this today generate their eyeballs with AdWords. They push them into $100,000 a year SDRs, sales reps, and that really increases their burn and costs. And I'd say challenge the traditional B2B SaaS model by trying your hand at earned media and trying your hand at a digital journey that doesn't require salespeople, and not to hire salespeople, to actually build a customer success team that you don't necessarily commission each person on a sale, but you commission the team on customer retention, lifetime value. And so their goal isn't to bag and tag them, but to help people make decisions and keep them.
Well, I love this. I could go on, but I did want to be respectful of your time. Before we go, we were chatting about audio. You're clearly an audiophile with the records you have back there. I'm a bit of a digital audiophile with spatial audio and amazing headsets and so forth. What's your setup, if I can ask? What do you got going on there?
You bet. So I think the number one thing that you want in regards to audio is the source, because the source matters. Yes, I have LPs, but to play an LP, I've got to take it out. I've got to clean it. I got to put it on the turntable, and I got to put the needle down. But you know what? There's some Zen moments with that. Like, have you ever found yourself just flipping through Spotify and going from song to song? You only listen to the first 3 seconds?
All the time. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I think that our minds work that way because they've been effed up by this, right? We can't pay attention to one thing. Putting a record on and listening to it all the way through is the way the album was actually designed. And Pink Floyd The Wall, check that out.
I love it.
Or Genesis, Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, or Deep Purple, Made in Japan, or I can go on. Houses of the Holy, Led Zeppelin 4. But sometimes I just want to be able to click and play. So I've taken all my CDs, because I started out with all those albums that you see when I was in high school, and I've added to them over the year, but I started buying CDs. So I took all my CDs and I ripped them to MP3 and FLAC. And there's a variety of tools that you could use to rip. But the big thing is, how do you store them and play them in a way that maximizes the audio sound? And so I use a thing called the Roon player, ROON, which runs on a NUC. This is a Intel NUC, NUC.
Right.
And so the Intel NUC is a very cost affordable processor
PC.
that you could set up and forget about. And I have a DAC, a digital audio converter, in there. It's a Dragonfly. And what happens is the Roon sees the directory on my NAS server that has all my FLAC and MP3s, and it will play. I could select it. It does a library thing, so it does all the artwork and cover, and I could basically see all the albums, digitally. And I can go pick my music and play it. But the sound that I get is really maximized because of the digital audio converter and the FLAC feeding in. So it's a much higher quality. But what's really great is that it also ties into my Tidal account, which has a music format, and I think it's called MQL. So MQL stands for I forget what it stands for, but what it is a format that folds 96K, which is like what the original tape was that they recorded on when they mastered it, and it unfolds it with the Roon player, and then throws it through the DAC. And that sound is sometimes better than my LPs. So the Roon player will show me my FLAC files, but also show me the Tidal files, so I could see what formats are available. So it has the MP3 that's at, maybe it's 24 kilohertz, the FLAC, which is at 44, and the MQL, which is at 96. And I can decide what I want to play. And
the audio experience must be phenomenal. It must just take you away to another place.
It is. and I have a beautiful set of cans like you do, but I want to tell people that Bluetooth does not transmit higher than a certain frequency. So no matter what you spend on your source, you're going to hear shit through your can, no matter what you got. Even if you have the fancy Apple, whatever they call those things.
Max, yeah.
So what you want to do is, if you are going to listen to audio, plug some nice Sennheisers or whatever into your stereo to listen to your cans, or more importantly, get a nice set of speakers. And they're not those desktop ones that have the 4-inch little cones. You need a big old ass cone. I have 8-inch, and I prefer 12, that you can actually feel the sound coming at you. And so if I play Frank Zappa, Muffin Man, I could literally feel Frank's guitar on my stereo. And so I have near field monitors, which is what they use to mix in the studios when they make the LPs or the CDs or recordings. And what that means is that the audio engineer sits in front of speakers that are fairly close to them. Mine are like 6 feet away. And I just have a setup that I turn it on, and it just, it's fun.
Oh man, talk about melting away into oblivion. That is wonderful. Well, thanks so much, Jon. It's been really great to catch up, as it were. And we'll be following you on all the usual places. Any travel coming up? Any events that you're particularly excited about, or industry-wise or otherwise?
I am planning a trip to Portugal.
Wonderful.
With my family soon.
And
I'm really looking forward to that. But I do want to leave your audience with a little something extra. Connect with me on whatever channel makes sense for you, and let me know how I might be able to blow some wind in your sails. Google me, pick whatever channel makes sense for you. It's Jon Ferrara, and just put it in there. You'll see that I show up on the first page. Do that for yourself. Do you show up on the first page? At what rate? At what level? Are you happy with that? You can change that. Here's a simple tip. Build a Wikipedia page for yourself. It's free, easy. Just follow the rules. because you have to cite all the information you put on yourself. But if you do that, you show up on the first page. Google loves your Wikipedia page, and it'll format it right there for anybody who's looking you up. And you should be using something to manage your relationships. You should have a personal CRM, your own golden Rolodex. And if you want to go try Nimble at nimble.com, and it does fit your needs, I'm going to give you 40% off your first 3 months. Use the code JON40, JON40, when you enter your credit card. And but you get 2 weeks free trial. And so you go check it out. You should definitely be doing something more than Google Contacts and LinkedIn for your relationships, because you can't even tag you or put notes on contacts in LinkedIn. They're not your contacts. You can't even.
Yeah, they stopped you from downloading the email addresses as well last year.
Right.
So it's own your contact, personal CRM. I love it. I use it. And okay, we'll catch you on the socials. And thanks for all the audio tips. I'm gonna try those out like right away. I love my music. Well, thank you, Jon. Great chatting as always.
Bye-bye.